Now, unless this is the very first luxury content video that you've ever seen in your life and you've happened to stumble across it, hello, I am Connor and I am a luxury humanitarian, similar to the work of UNICEF, but in luxury content. That is what I deliver for you. But if you are well seasoned, well marinated, you've got your juices all simmering around yourself, then you are very well versed in the latest Murakami 20th anniversary collaboration drop from Louis Vuitton. No, that will not all fit on one piece of paper. Now, this collaboration, as somebody who has a very high interest in marketing and execution and the details that I love to look through in these drops, I was left very puzzled, and I have come to the conclusion that Louis Vuitton is a genius! Well, not the actual Louis Vuitton, because he has passed away, RIP LV. But, you know, the company as it stands today. So, let's jump on in! But if it is your first time here on my channel, my name is Connor and I like to talk about all things luxury. So if that's something you're into, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button and the bell button so you're notified when I bring out new videos. And if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. So the Murakami collaboration that dropped at the very beginning of January has been saturated all over luxury YouTube, social media, it's been on TikTok, and to be quite honest, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed seeing everybody open up their videos. One of the kind of main things that I've enjoyed the most is there's been YouTubers who have relatively small channels or channels that I've never come across, and they put out videos very early on, some on the day that the day the collaboration dropped. They'd gone in, picked up the stuff that they were after, come back and filmed a video, and it's been good to see the exposure of those channels. And I can enjoy enjoyment of other people, which I know, right? It's a dying quality, but I've got a lot of joy out of seeing people unbox stuff and just fall in love with the collaboration again. Although this new drop is a little bit different to the previous one, and I can see why some people didn't want to shell out the money for it or were happy with the bags that they had had from the previous or the OG multicolour collection. It's been nice just to see people enjoy luxury and unbox stuff and be happy because, you know, who doesn't like to see happiness? But this whole Murakami thing, to me, I've been so puzzled by just the execution of this. It has been mind-boggling. Now, like I said before, the details of these marketing campaigns and when these collaborations happen, I love to see how companies and the fashion houses execute them. I love the packaging and the marketing and the celebrity endorsement. I love all of those aspects, and I love to see just how they push the collaboration, because it costs these companies a lot of money, especially Louis Vuitton. And if we're looking at the decline in luxury in general, or just the decline in what's the word, like discretionary income on things, obviously luxury goods are the first ones to get cut at the feet. But I was very surprised at the hype of this collaboration because of the price point of it. Now, I am a consigner, so I see the flip side of people who have bought luxury goods and then are wanting to move them on. And pre-loved luxury, just in general, whether it's in Australia, in America, Europe, it's been declining, or people are a lot more conscious with what they're spending their money on. And where maybe a year ago people thought, okay, well, this bag is $2,500, $3,000, I'm a bit unsure about it, but I'm, you know, if I ever need to sell it on, I can do so. That kind of, I don't know, flippantness is not so much there, or that kind of I'll take the risk isn't really there anymore. So people are still spending money, but they're a lot more conscious with what they're spending it on. So because of this collaboration, and let's just take a pochette accessoire, for example, in Australian dollars, I think it's $3,450, which is a lot of money for a bag that fits not a lot in. A canvas bag, yada, yada, yada. So I was very surprised with the demand for these pieces because of that reason, knowing what I know, knowing how people are spending their money on whatnot, this, that, okay? Now, the first kind of thing that got my nostrils flaring was the fact that the drop in stores and online was incredibly poorly executed. Now, if you've seen a lot of videos on YouTube from people unboxing stuff, there is a consistent theme that I've noticed was that sales associates and boutiques around the world, whether it's Europe, Australia, America, they all kind of had this my essay didn't know what was going on. The packaging hadn't arrived yet, but the stock was out on the shelf. It was meant to drop on the 2nd of January, and then it dropped on the 3rd of January, and then the website this, and the essays couldn't communicate. They didn't know when stock was coming in. They didn't know what was available. There seemed to be this underlying wishy-washy, poor execution. And I thoroughly believe that Louis Vuitton did not preempt the demand that this collection was going to have, and I will diversify what I mean by that. So obviously when the denim and the Kusama collabs had dropped in the previous years, these are the kind of like the kind of big draw cards that Louis Vuitton are using to either get new customers into Louis Vuitton, existing customers that have since branched off into other brands because there's a lot more luxury out there now. And these are the kinds of draw cards that they've been using to reel people back in. They cost a lot of money. The marketing, the endorsements, all of that stuff costs so much money on top of the licensing to actually collaborate, all of that jazz, right? So with this kind of Murakami drop, I think Louis Vuitton underestimated that people are ready to spend their money on such a collaboration because of what's happened with Kusama and the denim collection, where there really wasn't that big drive and that demand. And if you look back to luxury YouTube, just use that as the example, there was not a fraction of the unboxings and the hype that this collection has had. Now, do I think Louis Vuitton thought that there was still going to be a demand? Of course, they wouldn't have done this if they didn't think people were going to buy it. But I think as the pre-orders had opened, where I don't know the exact date, so do not quote me, but let's say it was 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before, when we could look at the website and we could see the prices of stuff and we could see what stock was coming into what different regions, and you had the opportunity to pre-order or reach out to your sales associate and place an order. I think that's when Louis Vuitton were like, oh fuck, okay, we've got to do something about this, and we've got to do it very smart, and we've got to put our commercial acumen hats on and make sure that we can really capitalize on creating this falsified economy. Take a leaf out of Hermes's book. And I think, and obviously I am speculating here, but just from what I know with how companies try to execute things, I think after they saw the demand from the pre-orders, the hype that was going on social media, because these companies, they do massive amounts of deep diving into social media. They watch people's comments, they see the videos that get posted, and yeah, you might think, oh no, they're never going to watch my video, you know, it's all about the high profile influencers. No, they use the influencers to bait us people into hyping up the collection, because people aren't watching a lot of the time like massive celebrities talk about these brands because they're like, oh yeah, this person's just paid to talk about it. They go to the average Joe Blow, you and I, not that there's anything average about you and I, and they go to us to see what we're talking about. So they said, okay, what we're going to do is do the old scarcity tactic, where we're going to cut off, say no more stock, and we're going to say that this collection we've run out, blah blah blah, to drive up the demand. Now, when these companies do these massive collaborations, just very basic numbers, this is kind of how it works out, right? They will make 20,000 white speedies in the multicolor, and when this, leading up to this collab, they will send out all of the bags to the boutiques, they'll put them on their online stores in the respected country, and they might use 10,000 of those bags for the initial launch, right? They all get purchased, sales associates give them to their clients who they have the strongest relationships with, and then there's no more speedies. Then they do this tactic where, well, if you're interested in the second drop, I can let you know, and then they kind of drip feed it back out, right? So then those 10,000 bags, they are gone, and then the other remaining 10,000 that they've allocated for the collaboration get kind of drip fed out. They might do a second drop. My sales associate has said, let me know, I'll be in touch with you. Maybe you purchase something in the meantime to kind of tie you over. That's generally how they do it. But I think in this instance, instead of that original 10,000 bags for the first drop, they went back to 5,000 bags. They created this scarcity because they really thought that people weren't necessarily going to put up the big cash like they did. And it's evident, just like I mentioned before, on YouTube with all of the unboxings of stuff. And I thought when this dropped, I would see a lot of unboxings for more of the affordable pieces like the SLGs or like the hair clips or the Twillies and all of that stuff. No. I was seeing the Almas, I was seeing the Speedies, and I was seeing the really high dollar value items. I actually saw somebody bought a Capucines. I saw the side trunk, all of those things, and I was very, very surprised by that just because the price of them, and I didn't realize that people had such an attraction to this collaboration and they were willing to put up the money for it. Now, obviously, I am just speculating with all of this. If you're somebody who is very in-depth in the marketing world, or you have some sort of relationship with these companies, or you know how these companies work, I could be totally off. But the reason why I'm so sure this is what's happened is because of the lack of communication with sales associates and stores, how the date changed at the last minute to when it was actually going to drop, and how SAs were left in the lurch. They weren't prepared for what was going on. And when the customer facing roles are so unsure and they're dropping the ball and they don't have the packaging for this massive $1 million collaboration, they don't even have stickers or whatnot, it tells me that Louis Vuitton changed the goalpost right at the last minute, the 12th hour, and that's kind of what happened. And they really wanted to ultra drip feed this collaboration out. Now, another little smoking gun was, in America, in Europe, I saw people posting on Instagram on their story saying, oh my God, I missed out, I can't get this bag, it's sold out, this Speedy, this, that. Yet on the Australian website, where the economy is a lot different to overseas, our dollar isn't doing amazing at the moment, and the cost of living and everything is still not great, and we're a lot more sensitive to these kind of large purchases. We had a lot of stock available, add to cart online, and I know that even if it was add to cart, it didn't necessarily mean the order was fulfilled, but comparing it to the American sites and the European sites where it literally said notify, 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 ours was add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. All of a sudden, it dwindled very quickly, and I found that interesting because it wasn't like certain pieces all of a sudden were going to notify, it was everything went to notify. And I was like, that's odd. Like, people don't all of a sudden just buy these multi-$1,000 bags all at once. Like, it was like every single bag went notify, 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 notify. And I was like, all at the same time, I call BS on that. Now, my other theory, which isn't really related to this, but I'm just going to talk about it now. I think I was talking with Dale about it, and I find it interesting as well that the price of the more, what originally was the entry-level pieces with Louis Vuitton, like your Speedies and everything like that, the price of those has jumped up really quickly, like entering into the $5,000 territory, while the more hard-sided pieces like a Petite Malle, for example, or a Capucine, yes, while they have increased in retail price, a Petite Malle has been around the $10,000 mark for a very long time. It might have been $8,900, now it's $9,900, but in terms of the percentages of the other bags, it's not on par. And I think Louis Vuitton, which, good on them, like they're a business at the end of the day and we want them to thrive, because if they don't thrive then there won't be any more Louis Vuitton, right? And it's a luxury brand. The accessibility to these products, you know, is meant to be non-accessible in terms of monetary amounts. I think they're really trying to create a very narrow path from the once entry-level pieces to the more hard-sided pieces, the more heritage pieces like the Petite Malle, because the trunk pieces, I guess, is where the ateliers get all of their experience. Those pieces cost the most to make because the training, the meticulous nature of those pieces, the expertise that goes into it, the labor cost, and generally those pieces are made in France. And when Dale and Meredith went to Agnières in France, they were speaking with people who have spent the vast majority of their working career dedicated to working for Louis Vuitton at learning the techniques of the trunk. I mean, look at Dale's Speedy trunk that she got. It's curved. Like, how do you curve wood like that and make it into a bag? Like, it's incredible the workmanship that goes into it. So Louis Vuitton are like, well, we're paying a hefty price to these artisans in France to make all of these exquisite pieces, and yet the majority of our customers are spending money on like soft canvas pieces, which, you know, are rumoured to be put together overseas and then the finishing touches are done in France or Italy or Spain or wherever, so they can put that stamp on it. But at the end of the day, whether it's made, they would cost a vast fraction difference to the hard-sided pieces just by the sheer lack of detail that are in those entry-level pieces, if you were to call it that. So Louis Vuitton are really trying to push people in the direction of the hard-sided pieces versus that, which is why I think they've increased those pieces so much. You know, just a theory, but something to have a think about. But anyways, with all my, you know, investigation journalism experience that I don't have, this is what I've kind of come up with. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm totally off, maybe who bloody knows, but this is just what's popped into my mind. But all in all, I've enjoyed seeing everybody unboxing their multicolor stuff. It's been good to see people whose channels I've never seen before pop up in my algorithm, and it's been good just to see people open stuff that they enjoy. Another thing that, just quickly before I let you go, another thing that I was a bit surprised by in a good way was that I guess the hardware that Louis Vuitton used on these pieces, I think it was, I can't remember who it was now because I've seen so many, but a lady in the UK kind of said, oh, my sales associate said that, you know, Louis Vuitton brought out the good silver and the good, you know, brass pieces for these, where the hardware was a lot more substantial and it looked a lot more weightier. It just looked like a better quality hardware as opposed to the other pieces that have the crap hardware that we still pay thousands of dollars for. Go figure. But I found that interesting that, yes, the pieces were more expensive, but Louis Vuitton were openly saying, yeah, but we've used better quality materials in these pieces. So I was like, okay, I can ride with that. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel, give it the thumbs up as it helps with the algorithm. And I hope to see you all very shortly in my next video.